Okay, I think we're ready.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Chamber's Pulse on Policy series. My name is Dana Harris, and I'm the Vice President of State and Federal Advocacy for the Austin Chamber. At the Chamber, we understand that the business community is more than just buildings. The business community is Austin, a sum of our business leaders, workforce, and customers. The business community is our community, and now more than ever, the Chamber is here to make sure businesses and the leaders, workforce, and customers that entails succeed. Simply put, the Chamber is here to help people live, work, and thrive in Austin. We're excited to have Senator Eckhardt with us today. She's going to talk about her priorities for this session and give us an update on what's been going on over in the Senate. But before we get started, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors who make this series possible. Thank you to our pivotal partners and to our foundation partners and to our many corporate partners. I'd also like to thank the sponsors that made today's event possible. First, I'd like to thank our corporate sustainers and our capital sustainers and our supporting sustainers. And of course, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Enoch Keever. Now I'd like to introduce John Menchaca with Enoch Keever. Immediately prior to joining Enoch Keever, John served as Senior Vice President and General Counsel for 9 years at CSI Identity Corporation, a part of Experian. As a member of the senior leadership team, John personally negotiated, managed, and documented a broad array of commercial financial transactions and SaaS model platform implementations for the company. In this general counsel role, John developed a specialized expertise in intellectual property, technology, and licensing matters, as well as privacy and data breach law. He has handled multiple regulatory and compliance matters, supervised litigation, and addressed numerous business issues. Prior to this general counsel role, John was a shareholder in 2 Austin law firms, Winstead and Jenkins and Gilchrist. Thank you, John, and welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for that intro. And thank you, everybody. And as we jump on to yet another Zoom call, it's been a crazy, couple years, but we're making progress, right? Just a little bit about Enoch Keever. Before we introduce the senator, we have 22 lawyers here in Austin, and we have various practice groups. We have a litigation and appellate practice group, a regulatory and admin law practice group, labor and employment, energy, telecom, and corporate and securities. And that's what the work I handle here at the firm. As we say here, we represent clients at the intersection of government and business. We have several former general counsels like me who are lawyers at the firm, and several have served as administrative law judges in other areas of service. We also have a former Texas Supreme Court justice, many of you who know, Craig Enoch, who I practiced with at my prior firms. As I mentioned, I'm heading our corporate and transactional practice and been with the firm for the past 2 years. We handle mergers and acquisitions, venture and angel deals, infrastructure transactions, entity formations, and a number of licensing matters. I've also been around various privacy issues and GDPR related issues for clients, and been practicing law here in Austin for the past 25 years. Catherine Morse heads up our labor and employment practice. She's been very active at the Chamber as well. She's a former in-house counsel and handles employment law and workplace investigation and all aspects of the employer-employee relationships. As of recent, as you know, we've had a lot of discussion in the energy space. We do have a number of folks who come out of that area. Bill Moore is a former general counsel as well. I've been practicing in this area of energy law for the past 25 years. We also have a telecom group and a regulatory practice with Rod Johnson, who heads our environmental practice. Lastly, Andy Keever is a former general counsel at Grande and brings a wealth of regulatory and government experience to that area of the practice. Gary Zalsmer heads our litigation group, and he too is a former clerk to a federal judge here in Austin. So that's just a high-level summary about what we're doing here in Austin. We're very honored to be part of the legal community for the past 10 years, and also to serve the Chamber and our business community. And we do thank you for giving us the opportunity to host our meeting today. So now on to our speaker, Sarah Eckhardt. We're very excited to have you here to talk about the session. Sarah was elected the senator for Bastrop and Travis counties in July of 2020. She has deep roots in Central Texas and a deep commitment to improving opportunity for all Texans. After receiving an LBJ School of Master of Public Affairs and Law degree from UT at Austin in 1998, Sarah worked for 8 years as an assistant Travis County attorney. From 2006 to 2013, she served as Travis County Commissioner, representing 30,000 people. From 2015 to 2020, she served as the Travis County judge presiding over the Commissioner's Court and representing 1.3 million people as we continue to grow here in Austin. Senator Eckhardt believes that elective office is a temporary trust bestowed by the people who elect her. She values policy above politics, and she believes that government exists to ensure that opportunity is within reach of every Texan. Senator Eckhardt, I'm going to ask you to run through your priorities for the session, and then we're going to take some questions from the audience. And with that intro, the floor is yours.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate that introduction. And also, y'all just have a fabulous, fabulous representative in Dana. She's been a tremendous helpmate in government relations for a good while, and I really, really appreciate that partnership. I have met with the chamber on a couple of different occasions with regard to you all's legislative priorities, and it's such a well thought out list, and I'm proud to be a partner with you all. I will tell you, during the campaign, I felt that the priorities of this legislative session should be recovering our health care from COVID-19, recovering our economy from COVID-19, addressing our criminal justice and public safety issues, as well as coming to grips with climate change and extreme weather events. We have seen some things since my July election, which in some ways has solidified those priorities, and in other ways have knocked them off balance. So I want to be honest and open with you all about the sometimes reactive aspect of the Texas legislature, which some of you may know better than I, since I am a freshman, but I am trying to flatten out my learning curve and become as useful to you all and to the constituency of Senate District 14 as quickly as possible. So let me start with recovering our health from COVID-19. I deeply, deeply appreciate the Chamber's platform with regard to healthcare, and would very much seek y'all's assistance in getting our eye on the ball of a Texas solution to expand Medicaid. There's a lot of money being left on the table, and there are some good bills. Representative Lyle Larson in the House has a good bill for a Texas solution, and also you all well know Texas 2036 has a very good platform. So I would ask for y'all's assistance and your support in really pushing hard, along with our medical communities, on expansion of Medicaid in whatever a Texas form should be, so that we don't leave those resources that we've already paid for at the federal level. In recovery from COVID-19 economically, I haven't seen a whole lot of movement at the Texas legislature on that, and that's been a disappointment to me. But I do have some bills that might assist with that. So I did want to explore those with y'all for a moment. One is to assist local bars and restaurants by giving them essentially a tax holiday from employee taxes until after the pandemic. There is a fiscal note associated with that, and it could be easily covered by the rainy day fund. But I do think that that is one way to assist our small businesses, our small face-to-face businesses that have been hit so hard in this economic downturn. Also, I'm looking for other opportunities to jumpstart our economy and provide revenue sources long term. And that's the reason why I think the time has come for us to take an honest look at the decriminalization of marijuana. Other states have been successful in decriminalizing and appropriately regulating it. And there are many bills actually in the House and in the Senate to take a look at marijuana as a cash crop, as a regulated industry, and as a revenue producer for our state. And I think it would be good for us to take a look at that. Additionally, I am looking at expanding the bonding authority in SH 130 Municipal Management District. Right now, only cities can bond for municipal management districts. And we are looking to add counties to be able to bring their bonding capacity to building economic vitality in some of our lowest opportunity areas of the county. In the area of, I want to skip around a little bit because I know that transportation is a big topic for the chamber, and it needs to be a big topic for the chamber. So we do have Senate Bill 1837 on transportation. I'm sorry, 1720. No, that's right, 1837 on transportation with regard to a local option vehicle registration fee, so that would give us some more local dollars for our big transportation projects, as well as a tax on electric vehicles. That's SB 1720. I drive an electric vehicle myself. I've got a totally electric, and before that I had a hybrid. And it's important that our electric vehicles pay into our transportation costs as well. So some of my environmental folks are concerned about that, but I do think that we need to pay our fair share as well. Also, I am carrying Senate Bill 1291, which is a companion bill to Celia Israel's bill for buses on shoulders. That would be a good and cheap way for us to support our transit. Also, I've got a couple of different bills, Senate Bill 1838 and 1839, to assist Project Connect on long-term leases on state-owned properties that will facilitate Project Connect. Also, I wanted to talk some about a couple of tax provisions. I know that I have not been really viewed as a helpmate in preferential tax treatment by the chamber. I do have some issues with preferential tax treatment, and I try to be honest about those issues. So I wanted to highlight the fact that I'm actually carrying a couple of bills, the companions for which are Mays-Middleton bills in the House, and that might surprise you. But I do think that they're good bills. One is to move tax appraisals to every other year, which will slow down the hit on high growth and high value areas like Travis County. And that one, I am going through my list. I've got a lot of bills here. That one's Senate Bill 1840. That would make appraisals every other year, so that you wouldn't get the possibility of a 10% increase every year. You would only get it every other year. I also have Senate Bill 887, which is, I've long desired a local option to look at a flat tax homestead exemption. Many municipalities do not have anything above a 5% homestead exemption because the hit would be so high if they've got a very wide spread between their highest value properties and their lowest value properties. So for those sorts of municipalities, and those are predominantly major urban areas, a flat tax homestead exemption may get them to sign on more readily and give some tax relief to residential homeowners. I feel like I'm speed talking, but I'm going to keep going. We definitely got hit by a very, very bad weather event recently, and you all are well aware of that, and we're all still reeling and trying to unravel the consequences of that. So I do have a bill for weatherization of crucial energy producing infrastructure. That's Senate Bill 1843. As well as a bill to remove the preferential tax treatment for high cost natural gas, which is Senate Bill 310. I think those two bills will assist in correcting the issues and the fallout from our most recent freeze. There's plenty of work to be done in this space. I don't mean to say that those are the only two areas that we need to take a look at, but those are two bills that are currently filed. I also want to throw out some bills that are designed to look at the causes of homelessness in our community across the state. One is Senate Bill 1833 to require a housing plan for individuals who are being released from state prison so that they're not released out onto the streets. Senate Bill 1346, which requires a forensic mental health department inside Health and Human Services and raises it up in the pecking order in HHS so that we are looking at forensic mental health as we release people from jail who are the underlying cause of their involvement in the criminal justice system is their mental health problems. or perhaps their behavioral health or substance use disorders. And then we're also looking at Senate Bill 1844, which I've filed, which is to require record keeping on mental health diversions from the jail so that we can make sure that we better serve these folks and they don't come back into jail. They're not languishing on the streets, and they're also not coming back into jail. They're actually being treated. So that is sort of speed talking in 10 minutes or less. But I wanted to leave enough room for questions. Should I just look in the chat for those questions and respond to them, John?
No, yeah, thank you so much. That was very, very well done. I have, they're going to come in the chat. I'll bring those up, and then I've got some questions here just to throw out based on that summary of great topics. So I'll let you kind of focus a little bit on of all these great topics, from healthcare to transportation, tech, is what are you going to prioritize, right, initially?
It does sound like a scattershot method. What I am prioritizing in this session, I really am looking for ways that we can recover our economy. There hasn't really been a concerted effort with regard to recovering our economy from COVID-19. I don't really see an architecture for recovering our economy. So I'm looking for opportunities to pass these bills specifically, and look for anybody else's bills that will provide the kind of tax breaks after the fact that will ease us ferry us to the other side of this downturn, and speed our recovery, and really our health recovery as well. I think that we seem to be losing the thread of the fact that more than 44,000 people have died of COVID-19, and that has a profound effect on us. And one very large piece of low-hanging fruit here is a Texas solution for expanding Medicaid.
Can we follow up on that thread on the vaccine and what challenges COVID has revealed? They're just, top of mind for you as the session kicks off here.
As the session kicks off, we are seeing, we have a new administration. We have a lot of vaccines coming out, and that is really, really good news. And I can't thank our local elected officials and our local apparati across the state for working with the private sector like HEB and CVS and Walgreens, as well as private healthcare professionals in getting these vaccines out to people as quickly as possible. I have been a little disappointed in the statewide infrastructure for moving these vaccines, but I have come to understand that the statewide infrastructure just wasn't prepared, and it doesn't have the kind of capacity necessary to build a statewide sign up and to build a statewide distribution network. So it's cherry picking where it can have the most impact, and the state has decided where it can have the most impact is on working on homebound folks in deeply rural areas, and leaving the rest to the private sector and locals. So let's get it done. We're getting more vaccine, and we're going to get people vaccinated, and we're going to get to the other side of this thing.
Oh, that's well said. That's been my take on this, as we've come together to solve this very critical issue. Speaking of that, maybe a word or two about Eckhardt and PUC and what's going on in the Senate as we speak today relative to those critical issues.
Sure, this is an intensely complex issue, and for those in the business world, you will understand this. The energy sector was largely deregulated at the end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s. A vestige of regulation was left in the creation of Eckhardt, but Eckhart's only tool was pricing, really. The PUC and the Railroad Commission have broader authorities and probably could have done something, but I think we would all agree that they didn't really have the political cover to do much more than rely on Eckhart's repricing mechanisms. Eckhardt was designed for just-in-time delivery of energy. It was not designed for a multiple-day freeze event. So we are suffering those consequences now. I think that the solutions for what we saw is that we need to reintroduce an appropriate level of regulation that has more tools than just the pricing mechanism. We need to enforce weatherization. which was recommended back in 2011. I think that we need to look at greater coordination between the Railroad Commission and the PUC, probably through Turk. And we also need to explore our current connections to the national grid and how those can help us with resiliency. At the same time, and this is outside of the legislative process, I think that these contracts all along the supply chain for energy, that distributed risk will be possibly challenged through the court system, and some of the pricing may be investigated through the Attorney General's office. And that's appropriate. I don't think we should be afraid of that. I think that we need to examine our risk distribution model. We've relied on the private contract world for that risk distribution model, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It might not be sufficient for us to prepare against extreme weather events, however, because as you know, as a lawyer, John, many of these folks were able to get out from underneath those contractual arrangements because of force majeure. That's appropriate. That's a real thing. But where does the government assure that in a major weather event that force majeure just doesn't allow everybody to exit stage left?
That's right. That's right. Are there ongoing hearings still on these issues?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I anticipate that there may be a special session on it. We need to repopulate the PUC since it currently has nobody on its board. So we need to attend to that, and we need to attend to that quickly. Great.
Yeah. Okay. Switching over to bigger, on Senate Bill 1, the Senate budget. Are there hearings going on for that? Any thoughts on how that's going so far?
Of course, Jane Nelson runs a tight ship, and that's been those hearings have been going on. We were looking at a very large hole in the budget, and then, as is often the case in the state of Texas, tremendous business activity, population growth, and a generous federal government has yet again made it possible for the state to not really have much of a conversation about ongoing revenue sources. We will be, ferried across to the next biennium by growth and federal stimulus. That's good news in many ways, but it does enable us to not really look at our very meager revenue sources at the state level. But I would very much like to work with the chamber on a long-term strategy for resilience in our statewide revenue sources so that we can get done the things we need to get done. Education funding, for instance, transportation funding, health and human services funding, which has fallen predominantly to the locals and property taxes over the decades.
Great. A quick question from the audience about Medicaid expansion. Can you recommend how we can shape our messaging to support those efforts around Medicaid expansion?
I would go straight to the Texas 2036 website, and I would learn up the script for how to talk about Medicaid expansion in a way that is likely to pass. They have a great website and a wonderful tool where you can yourself do a mix and match and create your own Texas solution just to see how all the pieces fit together. And I think that their tool there is very instructive for people who don't believe that there's massive return on investment. When you go on that tool, and Texas 2036 is not some crazy wild-eyed liberal tree-hugging group, you'll see pretty quickly that no matter what permutation you plug into that program, there is an obvious return on investment that is substantial.
Oh, that's good. Very helpful. So how about this question? What have you been most surprised about by in the Senate as you get run through the session? Anything that jumps out at you?
I think I've been most surprised. I've been most pleasantly surprised at how incredibly warm and welcoming my fellow senators are, and what a pleasure it is to work with them. It really is a very convivial atmosphere among the 31 senators. I think the most unpleasant surprise, I suppose, is, and this is true for, I'm not lobbing this at one party or another. I think that both parties engage in it some. I've been disappointed, and I hope to be a good partner in maybe changing our appetite for retribution politics and reaction. The deep freeze was a horrible circumstance, and I'm troubled by the speed at which we judged people and canceled them.
Right.
People who really had expertise in what happened and why it happened. We may ultimately disagree with what happened and think it should have been handled differently. But I need to hear from those folks.
Right. It's complex. You need, communication, just like we all do. Absolutely. Just a word or two. We got just a couple minutes about the local government committee. Are hearings begun? What do you see focus around that committee in the near term?
Well, I very much want to be a champion for local control. I may not like what the mayor of Dallas is doing, or the mayor of Austin is doing, or the mayor of San Antonio, or name a town, Lubbock. But I want to protect the locals' authority to do what is right for their constituency. If it's not an issue of statewide concern, I think it needs to stay with the locals. And I want to protect that in the local government committee. Okay,
and so that you have hearings relative to that. How does that work out?
We do. We have hearings that are going on right now, and I think there are some good bills. I'm hoping that I've got a good bill for local option vehicle registration, and I think that should fly. We've tried to push that through for a long time, and it hasn't flown. But I think that if the locals are willing to do a vehicle registration fee to enhance their abilities to do transportation projects, we should be allowed to.
Okay, go ahead.
And then we're also seeing some interesting things in terms of public safety on local control. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If you have a car accident at I-35 and MLK, there's no less than 10 law enforcement agencies that can respond to you currently. 10, literally. I'm not joking. Wow. That's hyperbole. We don't want an 11th layered on top just for the Capitol complex. That would be duplicative, wasteful. Instead, we need to make sure that we have good communication, good coordination, and that we are keeping people and the public safe.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to keep working with the chamber on those issues as well.
Yeah, that is good. One last, I guess, again, to say thanks for this. I know we squeezed you in, and thank you so very much for giving us half an hour here. I know you got a lot on your plate, and we really appreciate that. So any last word to the audience before we wrap this up?
I do coffee jolts every Thursday morning from 8 to 9, and really anybody come on board, pop into those, tell me what you think, give me my assignments. That's a great way for me to learn from you. And you don't need an appointment. You can just come on, stuff something in the chat, even if you want to private message me during those coffee jolts, and we'll get back to you. And of course, you can always get a hold of me through my email. And I've got a really awesome staff that makes me look good. So really feel free to email me, jump on a coffee jolt. We'll get your question answered. We'll take your assignments to me seriously. And we're going to be helpmates to one another.
Great. Anything else? I think that's all I have on my end. Dana, anything else on your end to jump in here?
Yeah, well, thank you both. I mean, Senator Eckhardt, thank you so much for your kind words and your thoughtful presentation this morning. I know that it certainly helped me. And I know that we have lots of places that we can work on, and I appreciate you and your staff so much. And John, thank you to Enoch Keever and to you for moderating this morning and sponsoring this event. And we are excited. We have lots of events coming up. We look forward to seeing all of you soon. And take care. Have a great weekend. It looks bright and sunny out, so it should be good Chamber of Commerce weather. So thank you all very much. Have a good day.